Okay, so we are going to go over 3.1, numbers 1 and 2, which, as you can see, it's like talking about like, it gives you a graph, and then it says, it gives you a context, and then they want you to find all of these features of a graph. Okay, and so we're just going to take these things one by one and then see if they make sense to us. So it says the graph shows the distance traveled during a family's road trip. So here it's labeled as hours, and here it says time. So distance must be like, here's their starting point. Let's just pretend they started at home, and then they were driving away from their home at a steady pace. And I could tell that it's a steady pace because the slope is like, it's one slope, right? It's a steady pace. So they're going whatever. It looks like 6 miles. I don't know, maybe not 6 miles, but some kind of hundreds of miles, maybe, I don't know, over hours. So this is hours. It takes them 4 hours to drive this far. So maybe this is like sets of 100. I don't even know. So, so it's, here's them going, and then something happens, and then they stop for a while. Like their car is not moving, right? They haven't gone further away from their starting point, which we're pretending is home. And then, but time still continues, right? Like just because your car stops doesn't mean time stops. So time goes on. Maybe they're getting gas. Maybe they stopped and went, and ate some food. I don't know what's happening. And then they're continuing and they're going. And if you notice here, they're going a little bit slower than they were before. Here, maybe they're on the freeway. Here, maybe they're, in a place where you'd have to go slower. Or maybe the speed limit is slower. And then they stop again, right? And then they go back home, right? And then they travel back home. Okay. So that's my little pretend story for this, just so that you have something that goes on in your mind. Some people think that this is the road in which they traveled. That is not correct. They didn't travel, this way, and then they made a right turn, and then they traveled this way. That's not what, this is not a road. This is distance over time. Okay, so the very first thing I like to do is probably not intervals of increase and decrease, but maximums and minimums. Okay, so what is the max? Now, when we think about max, we think about what's the biggest y you have. So the biggest y that I have here is 9. So my biggest y is going to be 9. And I'm just going to use miles because they told me it's a distance. So I'm just going to say 9 miles. Okay, so there goes that. What's the smallest y that we have? What's the smallest y that we have? Well, that's the smallest y right here. And then it's at 0. And it actually, we have the smallest y 2 times, but we're just going to write 0 miles. Okay, because we're given a context, we're telling you the number of miles. Sometimes you're asked about the maximum and the minimum, and they want you to give a point. So that is also an option. So we could say things like 10,9 or 10, or what is this, 13,9 and all the way in between, right? But for this context here, we're just going to put miles. The intervals of increase are where you see from left to right that the graph is going up. So if I was on a roller coaster from left to right and I'm going up, 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 up on the roller coaster track, that's an increase. So from what to what, that's what they're asking. From what to what are we increasing? And you're like, well, from 0 to 4, right? From 0 to 4, we are increasing. So we write it like this. And I write like a square bracket like that. And the square bracket kind of indicates including at 0, we're increasing, including at 4, we're increasing. So we're going up, 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 right? And then we have another interval of increase where we go up, 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 which that is from 7 to 10 as well. Okay. And because I want you to talk about both of them, I'm going to put a U in between, which means both of these. include both of these. We were increasing from 0 to 4 and from 7 to 10. Okay. So decreasing is when we're going down the roller coaster from left to right. So no, we're going up, we're going across, up, across, oh, down. So we started going down at 13 and we stopped at 20. So we write 13 to 20. Now we only have one interval of decrease, so we don't need that U at all. We just write our 13 to 20 here. Okay. And the little square brackets, don't worry about those. Just know that we're saying from here to here. From 13 hours to 20 hours, our graph was decreasing. Okay. Domain means all the X values that we are using. All the X values that you see being used. So that's literally from 0 all the way from 20. So domain, I always tell people look left. Look from left. So I'll write this down real quick. So domain, look from left to right. So your head should be going like starting at the left-hand side and then swinging over to the, like, kind of like shaking your head, but from left to right, right? And then, okay, so if that's how we find our domain, if we look from left to right, we get from 0 to 20, from 0 to 20. Okay, from 0 to 20. So similarly, our range is our Y values. So this is Y values. So we look from down to up. So these are our X values. Let me put that, let me make these similar. Okay. So when I look from down to up, sorry, it's barely showing up now. When I look from down to up, it's from 0 is my lowest up to my maximum, which is 9, which makes sense because those were our minimum and our maximum. So it's from 0 to 9. Okay, so this is how you do this. These are vocabulary words. And so some people struggle with like remembering what means what. Just think about what the word actually means in English. And then it makes sense that you're going to be applying that to this graph. Okay, so now it's your turn to practice, and I'll make it a little bit smaller so that you can look at both. Okay, so here, I'm just going to do it like this. So now I want you to do the same thing. Find the intervals of increase, decrease, maximum, minimum, domain, and range for this function here. Okay, for this function here. And this looks like a weird function. This function actually doesn't have a name. If I was going to call it anything, it would be a piecewise function because it looks like it's in two different pieces, this curvy thing and then this linear looking thing. So it says the graph shows the actual and projected account balance for a charge account with today marked at 0. Wait, with today marked as day 0. So going backwards, right? So if you look at how much it's going backwards, right? Well, the balance is how much money you have in the account, right? And then this is the days. So at day 0, here we are, and it looks like we owe $1, right? We are short $1. And at day 6, we have $1 in there. I don't know if it's $1 or hundreds or thousands or whatever. I'm just gonna pretend it's $1. So what I want you to do now is do the same thing that we did up here. I'm gonna leave this up here so you can kind of look at it and try it on your own. I'm gonna have you pause the video and then check out to see what makes the most sense in terms of these answers and see if you can actually make it make sense. Okay, so now that you're back, we're going to check our answers, and I'm just going to base it off of this so that you can see. So the very first thing that they want is the intervals of increase. And over here, it was whenever from left to right, you traveled up, up, up on the roller coaster track. So same thing goes here. Now this is going to be funny, right? Because this is a curve as opposed to over here, which is like an exact thing. So I'm going to zoom in just a tad so you guys can see the graph just a tad bit better. And it says the intervals of increase. Now looking from left to right, this is going down, and then you hit the bottom somewhere here-ish, right? And then you start going up. So I'm really interested in the bottom. So I'm actually going to fill out the maximum and the minimum to base it off of those two, right? So my minimum is looks like it's here at -6, somewhere here at -6. So I'm going to write that down, and my answer is going to be in context. So that would be owing $6, owing $6. Or sometimes people would say a -6 dollar balance. Okay, so that's the minimum. I am going to use that to build my interval of increase, but I'm just going to grab my maximum while I'm here. And it looks like the maximum amount I had is $2. So maybe you guys are like, man, this is like a little kid's account, but how are they spending more money when they don't have money? So maybe this is in hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know, in thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars, who knows? Oh, okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to look for our biggest, our lowest point to figure this out, right? So it's kind of somewhere, it doesn't look like it's quite here at -5, but it also doesn't quite look like it's here at -6 for our y value. I mean, for our x value. So the other things that you should know is whenever we're talking about intervals of increase and decrease, we're talking about the x values, right? So here, it kind of looks like it's here in between. So I'm going to say that my interval of increase is from -5.5, right? Somewhere in between -5 and -6. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then it goes up, 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 up. And then when do we stop? And it looks like we stop at 2. Okay. And then our intervals of decrease is going to be similar. It's from this guy, from -11 to where I said it was where we started. So it's from -11 to -5.5. And then I put the U in there because I say I want both of these decreases, right? So here's another one, and it starts at 2 and it ends at 6. So from 2 to 6. Okay. So far, are you getting these right? Okay. Domain, we said, let me scoot this over so you can see. Domain, we said to look from left to right. So from left, what is the most left x value? Well, that's -11. And what's the most right x value? Well, that's 6. So -11 to 6, right? And range, we said, look from down to up. What's the lowest value? Well, we said that you were going to owe $6 all the way up to having $2. So owe $6 to having $2 looks like this. So here's your answers for this one. Intervals of increase is when you're going up, up, up on the roller coaster. Decrease is when you're going down on the roller coaster. Maximum is the highest point of your roller coaster. Minimum is the lowest point of your roller coaster. Domain is from left to right. And range is from lowest to highest. All right, hope that made sense. Bye.